my top 25 games of 2025. And by top 25, I mean just the 25 games I played over the course of the year, which is a lot more than I usually play. I'm surprised I was able to get through that many. This won't necessarily be a ranking of the games. Rather, it'll be an overview and spotlight for many games I either never got around to making videos for, or what I feel are sleeper picks I really needed to let the internet know about. The games featured won't be limited to 2025 releases. Any game I have played and finished to completion for the very first time during the year can be included. With one exception. From visual novels to visual novels and damn, I played a lot of visual novels, huh? Despite that, I swear there's a varied lineup here, so let's dive right into it.
Yeah!
Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp. This was the exception. Danganronpa S is a game that exists. There's actually a bit of a backstory here. Around the beginning of the year, I was watching a friend go through V3 for the first time on stream. You should totally follow them, they're awesome by the way. And although they had a very mixed reaction, it was still a fun time and reaffirmed my enjoyment of V3. It's fucking great. So I thought to myself, that one minigame from V3 had a lot of potential and it could be really fun using the eccentric cast of Danganronpa in a dungeon crawling turn-based RPG. I was wrong. So very, very wrong. Not only was the game way more repetitive than I initially expected, but it also didn't feel at all like an expansion of V3's board game. And you can't even use the characters you want, it's all locked behind this weird Monokuma machine gacha thing. Super shallow gameplay, there really isn't any overarching narrative. Seeing character interactions between all the cast is cool, but again, out of your control, who you get to talk to and when. It all felt so cheap. And I hate to use that word because I can see the appeal of this game, but it definitely isn't for me. And definitely wasn't what I was looking for at the time. I played for a grand total of 5 hours, then never again. Thankfully, I had at least 2 brain cells at the time to pick up this game on sale rather than full price because $20 is highway robbery for this. Master Detective Archives Rain Code. After the disappointment that was Danganronpa S, I had to find something made by Kodaka-san that I hadn't played before. I already played his extensive library of games consisting of the good one, the great one, the best one, and get that shit out of here. Well, Rain Code was the answer to my prayers. I knew of this game for a while, but gave it a pass since it was originally a Switch exclusive and I didn't really hear any buzz about it after its release. But hey, at this point I was desperate. Anything would be amazing right now. And Rain Code is amazing with a capital A. If this list was ranked, it'd definitely be a top 5 contender. I don't want to give away any major spoilers, but just know if you enjoyed Danganronpa or anything Kodaka has made, you will enjoy this. For me, it was a step above Danganronpa even, which isn't really a high bar, but hey. You play as the titular Yuma Koko Head, an apprentice detective of the World Detective Organization sent on a mission to uncover the ultimate secret of Kane Ward, a city shrouded in never-ending rain. There are other characters with equally, if not more, ridiculous names, and I thought going into this that the entire game would be unserious as hell. But surprisingly, the characters really grew on me, and there were some emotional moments that felt heartfelt and sincere. I also really enjoyed the atmosphere of Kane Ward. The entire city had this kind of cyberpunk vibe to it, with bright neon lights dotting most of the architecture, contrasting with the dark and dilapidated sewers and slums you trudge through. It was fun exploring the city as you scour for clues. I found it refreshing to move through a 3D environment in a Kodaka game. No, we don't talk about that one. Combined with the music, the atmosphere was a highlight of the game for me. If there was one thing I had an issue with, it would be the gameplay. The Mystery Labyrinth parts specifically. It's like if an Ace Attorney game guided the player with even more leading questions. Actually figuring out the mysteries was pretty simple and there weren't too many moments where it felt like I had to put 2 and 2 together. If anything, you'd probably guess the culprit before even beginning these mystery solving parts. What it lacks in the mystery labyrinth, it makes up for in the story, at least. If you enjoy mystery games that breadcrumb you the clues to the big twist or reveal, Raincode has a gigantic seal of approval from me. Etrian Odyssey 3 HD! Hey, I made a video about it, you should check it out. I finally finished the Etrian Odyssey trilogy, and the minute I started 3, I knew it'd be my favorite. Amazing music, the best dungeons, an awesome oceanic setting, entirely new classes, and subclassing. This game felt like a very natural progression of the first 2 games. With the introduction of the combat study skill, I was able to have more than 5 members trained up at a time and switch them out periodically. Loved having the freedom to switch up the party without excessive grinding. With subclassing being added on top of that, choosing fun combinations of the classes was an extra layer of customization. 3 also surprised me with the way it attempted to tell a more involved story. It even has branching choices and everything. It's not the story to end all stories, but I found it engaging enough and appreciate the effort. Sea exploration, a whole new side mode, felt a little constrictive at first with you having a limited number of turns to map out a sea chart. But once I started to slowly acquire the ship parts, it became a nice change of pace from exploring the labyrinth. 3 is indisputably the best of the trilogy, and no, I'm not biased because I love the princess class. For some reason, the year began to shape into a Kodaka and Uchikoshi fest for me, as I ended up playing 5 games made between the 2 of them in 2025. My first ever Uchikoshi game, The Somnium Files, left me absolutely bewildered but also kind of intrigued. Primarily, it's a visual novel where we try to unravel the strange strings of missing eye murders that have taken place recently. Along with our trusty AI eyeball, Aiba, there are no shortage of colorful characters we have the privilege of talking to. When it's not in the visual novel mode, we enter the dreams of suspects or people of interest to reveal clues about which way we should proceed in the case. These dreamscapes, called somniums, were an interesting concept, but functionally they're just you interacting with objects to open a path forward. They have plenty of hilarious dialogue surrounding them, but until I played the very last Somnium, I never found them to be the best part of the game. It felt very trial and error to me. The highlights were definitely the characters, mostly all of them were endearingly funny and were great at keeping the story moving in unpredictable ways. Especially Date. I've seen plenty of memes of Mr. Porn Addiction Date before, but having no context made me think he was some kind of insane, dysfunctional cop. So basically he's an insane, dysfunctional cop, but he has a daughter. I ended up loving Date as a character. He's a wonderful protagonist in my opinion. He's simultaneously a degenerate and the voice of reason for others in distress. An idiot, but also the sharpest person in the room. He's got multiple sides to him and a host of different relationships that bring the faces of his personality to the forefront. What can I say? He's an interesting dude. After playing the first game, I knew I had to play the follow-up. I couldn't wait for more Date Spotlight. Yeah, this game isn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be, but it's not great either. I like the new Somniums at least. Ryuki it's kind of cool, I guess. Yeah. Tribe 9. Now I don't hate gacha games specifically, but 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't involve a franchise I'm already familiar with, I probably won't give it a chance. I usually find the gameplay shallow or heavily dislike the predatory nature of dangling my waifus behind a potential paywall if I don't get lucky enough to win on the spin machine. They also have a terrible way to instill FOMO into their players by placing in-game currencies by logging in for X amount of days. I ended up playing 3 different gachas this year. And Tribe 9 was the biggest surprise of all. Another game blessed by the hand of God himself. At the recommendation of a friend, I gave this new gacha a shot, even though I thought it looked absolutely ridiculous. Playing baseball with your life on the line? But once I looked past my preconceived notions, I had a really enjoyable time with this one. The art style of Rui Komatsuzaki will always be a joy to look at. These characters are heavily carried by their varied and unique designs. But there was also a bit of substance with the story as well, which was a surprise. It follows the journey of protagonist Yo Kuronaka, who not only lost his memories, how original, but also seemingly his two best friends in the span of an hour. He fights against the Tyrant Zero in his lineup of elite XP players/dictators named Numbers, to recover the truth of who he is and restore autonomy to the lawless city of Neo Tokyo. What Tribe 9 excels at that I feel like a more watered down version of this game could have been is seeing the ramifications of having this cutthroat and frankly violent world thrusted upon multiple types of people. We really get our boots on the ground and witness the more affluent thriving over using a popularity contest to secure their safety, while the less fortunate are picked off one at a time. We meet characters that stand against Zero, some who agree with what he stands for, and some who are in a position between the two. It's the type of writing that'll keep you wondering what happens next at every turn. The world building overall is just phenomenal, and it doesn't end there. The gameplay is also a blast. Tribe 9 utilizes an action combat system for most battles and boss fights, a decision-based extreme baseball portion for important story and online battles, and whatever this is. I found the action combat surprisingly easy to pick up and control with a parry system that makes fights look cinematic. You only have a few unique actions for each character, but they differentiate them enough to give each one a distinct playstyle from one another. I never really got tired of the action combat and had fun building teams that could easily tear through enemies. XB also ended up being a hit for me. For the story portion, it's more of being able to pick the right dialogue option to progress the game, similar to things like non-stop debates from Danganronpa. But for online play, it's a combination of a stat check and considering which batting or pitching style will benefit the team the most at that time. I was never really a huge baseball guy, but watching these super flashy animations of characters parkouring over buildings and slugging it out for first base was the closest I'll ever be to becoming one. Paired with an incredible soundtrack, Tribe 9 shaped out to be one of the best gacha games I'd played in a while. I'm so glad I'll be able to stick with it over the next couple of years to see. Are you fucking kidding me? Nosia. I got this game as a surprise birthday gift. Thank you, Nicole. This was another game that didn't look up my alley at first, but I was literally bribed to give it a try, and it's pretty good. Don't judge a book by its cover is my new motto. Nosia was developed by a very small team and it shows, but they've managed to make something wholly unique with this one. It's a social deduction game where you spend multiple days trying to sleuth out which person or possibly people are Nosia. Nosia are bad, by the way. They look like this and kill you in your sleep. Calling this game Anime Werewolf would be a disservice though, as it's not only about finding out who the Nosia is, but also who the hell are these people in the first place. What I enjoyed the most about Nosia was the non-linear way it conveyed its story to the player. Every run will be different. You'll learn new things about one character that have a direct connection to another one in an unexpected way. It's a bit confusing and all over the place in the beginning, but by the end, you'll be able to connect the dots to a slightly surprising ending. Let me just say, Nosia is one of those games that takes full advantage of its medium to tell its story, and I always find that really admirable. Etrian Odyssey 4. Etrian Odyssey mentioned, so I'm not going to waste any time. 4 is the best one. So far. It took a lot of what 3 had introduced with subclassing, overworld exploration, and an attempt to tell a story, and pretty much did all of it even better. As the first 3DS title in the series, we've graduated from 2D sprites to fully realized 3D models, not only for the enemies, but also for the labyrinths. At first, I was a bit afraid this would be a wonky transition with slower paced gameplay similar to the 3DS era of Pokemon, but no, everything ran pretty smoothly and looked great to boot. If anything, the whole experience felt even more immersive with tons of interactable objects and plenty of ambient noise entwined with the music. And oh my god, the music is so fantastic, but hold on, we'll get to that. First, I want to talk about how the Yggdrasil Labyrinth is structured in EO4. In that, it's not. We're traveling to Yggdrasil through various other smaller labyrinths. I found that a really nice way to mix up the formula because it would be so easy to just make a new town, give us a new tree, and there you go. I'm not sure how other people felt about this, but I absolutely loved it. Along the way, we utilized an airship similar to the voyages in EO3 to get around these smaller areas, letting us discover new dungeons or alternate routes to enter the main labyrinths. The sense of discovery and adventure is just at its absolute peak. I could not put this game down for hours. And then the combat kept up the polish I had come to expect with Etrian Odyssey. This time we get a pretty good amount of new classes in this one, mixed in with old faces like the Landsknecht. Some of my favorites were the Nightseeker, Arcanist, and Imperial. But the Arcanist is probably one of the most important introductions since it gave way to the circle skills. If you've played Persona Q before, you understand how incredibly oppressive these things are. I wasn't too keen on the art for these classes at first, but eventually it didn't really bother me after a while. The boost equivalent of 4 is the burst meter. It's like 3's limit skills without the multiple character requirement. The entire team shares a max of 5 burst points, and you can spend them on anyone's turn. These burst skills are pretty useful as they help you escape through tough encounters, heal or buff the party, or deal damage to enemies. At first you can only equip 2 different burst skills, but over time you gain access to more slots. I found this to be the perfect step up from the limit skills of 3, as it doesn't restrict which characters can use the ability, and overall keeps the party from wiping when you're either in a pinch or feel like you just need one last push to kill an enemy. Now some of these skills are a bit too strong, but you know, baby steps. If this mechanic is iterated upon, I think Burst has the potential to be the best gauge system for the Etrian Odyssey series, period. Story-wise, this game has a very similar premise to the other entries. There's a mysterious labyrinth. The leader of the town wants adventurers to get to the bottom of it, profit. But like I mentioned before, what's cool this time is that the labyrinth that needs to be explored is quite a distance away from the town. You end up meeting quite a few characters along the way as your party travels, both fellow adventurers and more than your fair share of suspicious individuals. 4 lends itself to becoming more of a traditional JRPG in its setup, but still holds that distinct Etrian Odyssey flair when you're down on the ground exploring. I found that brilliant. Tharsis ended up becoming my favorite hub town, even more so than Armor Road, and that's saying a lot because Armor Road is fucking awesome. I know I said last time I talked about Etrian Odyssey that you should pick up 3 at the very least if you're curious about the series, and I still hold that sentiment, if only so you can really appreciate what 4 has to offer. Etrian Odyssey 4 is easily far and away the best game, so far at least, and who knows, maybe 5 will amaze me even more. But I have a sneaking suspicion this one will stick with me for quite a while. Okay, now the music. Paranormicide. Hey, I made a video about this, you should check it out. The TLDR for the game is, it's good. It's really, really good. Way better than any game that no one's ever heard of has any right to be. I picked up and played this on yet another recommendation, and it was one of the best recs. I was glad I hopped on immediately. Beautiful art, fun characters, intriguing story, and an unexpected use of gameplay and narrative integration. Criminally underrated. I only have praises to sing about Paranormicide. If you're ever in the mood for a good visual novel, this is the best one to play. Oh my god. Another video, by the way, just saying. I don't really want to talk about this game anymore. I did like it, especially at first, but the more I think about and interact with this game, the more exhausted I get. It's definitely unique. I'll say that much. If you like Kodaka, if you like Danganronpa, you'll get something out of this. Just take it slow, is all I'll say. Just take it slow. Okay, now on to some good games. I started to pick East back up after finishing East 2 about a year ago. I'm tackling these games by engine rather than chronological order, so the next batch of games would be the ones in the Nepishtim engine: 6, Oath, and Origin. For the first games outside of bump combat, E6 does a pretty good job serving as a transitional point. They've utilized the game's 3D engine when it comes to level and boss design, and of course we have the coveted jump mechanic at our disposal. Adol now combines his swordsmanship and magic into one with the new Emelas swords we get over the course of the game. They all have slightly different magic properties to them and can be forged up in town when you have enough materials. Although it was fun to find bigger and better swords as you went through your adventure in East 1 and 2, I really enjoyed these new weapons as they offer diverse playstyles for various situations. 6 also had a fairly decent story with characters that felt much more involved compared to 1 and 2. The Canaan Islands have an interesting setup, with half the archipelago consisting of the native Redhas, and the other half shipwrecked foreigners seeking to expand their new home. The two naturally clash and disagree on many levels, but you get to witness the development and change of the island firsthand. E6 is a solid entry in the series, and I'm beginning to see a consistent theme of quick, fun action combat mixed in with outstanding music for the foreseeable future. Also, apparently this was the first US release for an East game after 3 for whatever reason, so I guess this was not just a shakeup in presentation, but a revitalization of East. I just wish I played this on the PS2 for the legendary voice acting.
What? You're heading to the giant vortex of Canaan? You can't be serious!
The doc's the captain here, and he's my dad. 2 years ago, he let me board this ship, the Tremar. I wanted to see the world, because if I didn't, I would never catch up to that certain someone.
A remake of East 3, and definitely my favorite East game, potentially at least until 8. I keep hearing great things about that one. Another Nepistrum engine game, Oath and Felghana takes pretty much everything 6 did and polishes it to the best of its ability. The combat is fast and addictive with less of a focus on platforming and more on how much you can keep up your momentum. Adol can double jump, dash, has air combos, and gains health and experience bonuses based on the amount of enemies he kills. This feels in line with the older East games and had that arcade-like feel I loved. With a burst meter on top, Oath and Felghana has you feeling like you're on top of the world. Of course, it retains the 3 diverse magic types, well, with a small change from lightning to earth magic, and I found them still fun to utilize. In fact, it felt like some bosses were designed around the magic types you gain, and were great at subtly showing their applications to the player without overt explanations. In terms of story, it's about as good as Nepistrum's, with our main man Dogi leading the charge as we visit his hometown of Felghana in this one. Also similar to Nepistrum, you get to see the town of Redmont change over time. I really enjoyed getting to know the townspeople and their struggles. There was a twist of villain at the end I didn't really expect, but other than that, it's your standard East fare. Music-wise though, it leads the pack by a large margin. If anything, I feel more inclined to visit the PC-88 version of East 3 because some of these songs are just outstanding. The last of the Nepistrum engine games. This one's good too. I think all these games are just gonna be good at this rate. It has all the awesome improvements from Felghana with an added burst mechanic. Once your characters enter a boost state, you can boost again to just explode all over the screen. Fast-paced combat, check. Unique and challenging bosses, check. Fantastic music, check. Red-haired adventurer, not check. This is the first East game to my knowledge that doesn't feature Adol as the protagonist. Instead, this is a prequel game to the first 2 East games. We climb Darm Tower with either Unikatova or Hugo Fact, descendants of the 6 priests. Both of the goddesses have been reported missing as a war between fucking demons and humans ensues, so it's our job to find them. Each character has a unique playstyle, with Unico wielding a huge axe, and Hugo weird eye missile things. East Origin only takes place within Darm Tower, but I found the multiple sectors varied enough to not be too boring. So far, I've only played through the Unica path, but East Origin is a damn good time that I can't wait to return to. Raito is back, and he's, oh god, what are you doing? Raito Remastered, a game I really should have covered, a game I really wanted to cover, but I just didn't have the time. Atlas did a pretty good job with this remaster of all things considered, though. If anything, it feels more like a remake with all the changes they've implemented. fast travel, enhanced fusion mechanics, summoning 2 demons like it's Raito 2, just a whole bunch of things that streamlines the entire experience. The combat especially. Raito Remastered introduced the Mag Drain system, where stunned enemies hit by weaknesses restore your mag, the thing used to summon demons and use skills. You've got light attacks which will rack up more mag restoration on hit, and heavy attacks that don't restore any mag but deal more damage. The name of the game is finding a balancing act between you and your demon's moves to keep your mag up for crucial moments in battle, then strike with everything you've got when you see an opening. As far as action combat goes, Raito Remastered is actually pretty simple, all things considered. Even on the highest difficulty, I never had a problem with any of the major bosses, but this is also its modern Atlas, so regardless, they did a great job with upholding the game's combat as the original was, yeah. Raito Remastered has a fully voiced story to boot, set in the fictional 20th year of the Taisho period, 1931. Raito acts as a devil summoner of the Kuzunoha clan, in disguise as a detective to protect the peace of Tokyo. You take on various requests from demons and humans alike to uncover the dark secrets lying in the underbelly of the capital. And then you got a guy that sounds like this. Raito is that classic blend of humor and existential dread you'll find in the typical Shin Megumi Tensei. What sets it apart from other entries would obviously be the 1900 aesthetics. I just really love the way Japan is portrayed during this time for some reason. Similar to the setting in The Great Ace Attorney, although that was about 20 years earlier than the Taisho period. What can I say? It looks sick. And this game is sick. 5 Iduns out of 5. I really didn't think I'd get into this game at first. But who the fuck am I kidding, right? Persona Gotcha, they had me by the balls the minute I heard Persona. It's fine. I'm thinking about the game in its current state, but at first, I was absolutely in love with it. The story is surprisingly in-depth and feels in line with an actual Persona game. Characters are solid. If anything, I think I like these guys more than the actual Phantom Thieves. Love the variation of confidants. We've got a bartender, a transfer student visiting from China. I really like her. A loser, a struggling musician, the MILF next door. She's really cool. Anderson, just a plethora of interesting folks. Music is great. It seems to have it all. Oh, the gameplay. Yeah, that's the issue for me. It's a gacha game. They really could have just made Persona 5 2 or 3, and I would have eaten it up because it had the makings of something great. But the gameplay it got so tired after a month or so of playing. It's Persona combat stripped to its bare necessities. Hit or crit, get a one more, either keep up the attack or baton pass, then all out attack. Over and over and over and over. But we do have special moves we can click every so often to spice it up. The worst part is you're limited to 3 moves for most party members, so it's kind of hard to shore up a lack of a certain element. If you can't hit a weakness, then go summon until you get someone who can. And then the summoning is kind of whack on top of that. Now, I don't have the gacha know-how, so I'm not sure if the rates are bad in this game, but they feel it. It might be better now that there are more useful characters in the pool to pull from, but when I started, it was Joker or nothing. And if you don't get Joker, a million Agathians. The palaces weren't amazing. Very straightforward, glorified hallways that had puzzles where even if you knew how to solve them, because they were very easy, the game wouldn't allow you to. You had to do it in the intended way. Kinda silly. Also, they felt just way too large for no reason. Like, they had to fill it in with stuff just to justify the wait time between updates. And that's another thing. The wait time between story updates was just way too long for me. I really enjoyed the story, but getting to the climactic part and getting hit with the next time screen was so demoralizing. If you enjoy gacha games, or maybe if you're looking into getting into one, P5X might just be up your alley. I feel like I harped on all the negative aspects, but the reality was it just wasn't for me. The hours spent grinding, the months spent waiting, I just really was not into it after a while. But once they add Yukari, everything changes, baby. I'm back. Oh god. This is the one game I can't let anyone know I played. So I'm gonna put it in a video for the world to see. Yeah, I played Uma Musume. It was pretty good. The final wretched piece of the gacha game trilogy. I picked this game up while I was waiting for a flight since, you know, it was all the rage in the summer. I was legit bored. Yeah, I know I'm making excuses, but I just wanted to try it out. I pick Maya no Top Gun. I start going through the campaign, and then this race happens. Now, I have no idea what I'm doing at this point, of course, but we get far along in her line of races. We're facing her rival, Naruto Brian, and she is putting up a fight. Much more of a fight than I expected even. I'm pogging out, literally on the edge of my seat. We've come too far to lose now. She's gotta do this. She pops her ult. I'm losing it. She's inches away to the front. I'm like, she's gonna make it. She's gonna win. Why do I feel so invested in this? Super Freak creeps in. Fuck. Or fucked. Wait. No? We lose. After all that, I'm sitting here like, I failed her. I failed Maya no Top Gun. Fuck. I like this game. It's fun building your horses up. It's a roguelite horse training simulator. Who the hell would ever be into this? Everyone ever, apparently. And now I understand why. I admit, I played it for a few months. My goat was King Loyo, but then like every gacha I just stopped because goddamn, doing the dailies was like an hour of my time. I got tired of it after a while. While I might not be a Torena now, I can see myself coming back to this in the future, specifically for Mambo. 999. Unfortunately, we have to lower our standards to a much more inferior game, 999, as a follow-up to the perfection that is Uma Musume Pretty Derby. 999 was excellent though, very much worth all of the hype I've heard about. If you've played this game, you know what's up. The story told here is one of the most confusing, yet brilliant things I've ever witnessed, and I never expected it from some random puzzle game on a DS. Similar to Uchikoshi's other titles, 999 presents its story in a non-linear way, with you having to go back multiple times to piece together what's truly happening. While that sounds annoying on the surface, I never found it too infuriating since the alternate paths had different batches of characters to get to know, and new information that points you in the right direction. Every single time, without fail, whenever I reached an ending point, I would audibly say, "What the fuck?" And when all was said and done, I would audibly say, "What the fuck?" It's very hard to talk about this game without major spoilers, so just know that this story is worth the ride. The ending sequence made me a bit upset I didn't play this on a DS because does it ever have the coolest twist, and dare I say the only twist ever, that brings in the hardware itself into the narrative. Seriously, such a cool idea here. 999 is nonsensical, fun, and somehow poignant all in one. This one immediately shot up to be one of my favorite games of all time. Oh, the gameplay? I don't know, you solve puzzles or some shit. Alright, no sleep for Kaname Date. I thought this game would be dead on arrival, a new AI game not led by I said AI again, goddammit. Game not led by Uchikoshi himself. What's even the point? The point is, it's still good. At least I feel so. I'm pretty sure people are divided on this game, but from my perspective, it has accomplished at clearing the ever so low bar that was set for it. Instead of being a direct follow-up from Nirvana, No Sleep serves as a kind of midquel that's also seemingly non-canon, or is it? I don't know. It's a fun fan service type game that blends the somniums of the previous games with the escape rooms of the Zero Escape series of all things. I especially found the escape rooms really engaging. Being able to physically move throughout the space offered much more intuitive puzzle solving. And as you get further along, you have multiple people you can control, adding a whole other layer to the process. The characters are as fun as ever, with pretty much every major character making a return appearance, and a few new ones as well. Hina, who's Pewter's replacement, I found to be a fairly decent character. She has great banter with the cast right off the bat, and I love her design, especially with all the cables in her hair. I just found her really cute. Now the story is very simple and straightforward for Uchikoshi standards, considering he didn't write it whatsoever. If you're expecting some grand twist or a metaphysical commentary on how we all live in a simulation, you're looking in the wrong place. I didn't find the story to be exceptional, just standard. And really, really short. This game might be a bit overpriced if anything. I will commend them at being able to keep in line with the namesake of the series, as it does center around love and family by the end. So yeah, No Sleep for Konami Date is a very decent game. I liked it more than Nirvana, but that's not really saying much. Yakuza 0, Kiryu-chan. Yakuza is another hype series you've probably seen a million times if you've ever been on the internet for more than 5 seconds. After finally giving it a shot, I can say it's pretty good. At first, I would have described it as Japanese GTA, but nah, this is its own beast. Yakuza has you fighting thugs set on killing a blind girl in one moment, then playing as a cabaret club host trying to save a dying business. You're on the run from your Yakuza family as they want to kill you dead because they absolutely hate you. Then you're dancing with Michael Jackson. It's fucking wacky. Being able to switch between the melodramatic crime story and the goofy side stories and minigames at pretty much any time gives Yakuza its own distinct vibe of what the fuck. You play as two protagonists, Kazuma Kiryu and the GOAT Majima, and you get to really understand them as characters because of this dichotomy. When their morals and values are put into question within the main story, and when they're faced with helping out a crying kid on the street, both versions of them become flushed out over time. It feels like you need to juggle the optional content with the main. This was also one of the reasons I felt a bit soured on this game at first. There's a lot to do, like a lot. Some side stories felt a bit more important than others, but I would highly recommend you only focus on what you want to do, rather than trying to do everything all at once. Even after playing a good amount of the side content, I didn't even see half of what this game had to offer by the end. In another way, you could see this as a positive because you are definitely getting your money's worth if you're a completionist. Good luck to you if you try to 100% this game, by the way. I sure as hell won't. I wouldn't say it was the best game I ever played, but I'm definitely sold and willing to give the other games a try, if only for Majima. Did I mention I love Majima? Trails in the Sky the First. I love it. I literally have 3 videos talking about Sky FC. Go watch them. It's a great place for first time Trails fans to start. Has a slightly messy localization, but awesome combat. It's a Trailsman game. What the fuck? It's Trailsman. I'm gonna like it regardless. Okay, next. Fire Emblem Shadows. An odd game if there ever was one. I remember when this game shadow dropped, the entire Fire Emblem fanbase was in a bit of a tizzy. Was this a surprise mainline game? No. The Fire Emblem Heroes killer? No. Furry Emblem Among Us slop? Apparently. When I first tried it, I thought, what the hell is this? This is not Fire Emblem, and it isn't. Not in gameplay, at least. You play matches online consisting of 3 players where one of them works as an agent of shadow. You do a little map, you kill the enemies, then all of you take a vote for who the traitor is. If you vote correctly, you gain 2 extra lives, whereas a wrong vote will only grant 1. Then you and your ally fight against the traitor, yada yada, you win, rewards. You lose, less rewards. It's very simple in concept and usually only takes about 5 or so minutes from my experience to play matches. So it's perfect for the mobile platform. The main issue is it gets very, very boring very, very quickly. There's really only that one mode, so if you don't love the main gameplay loop, well, that's it. But there's a saving grace to this game, I feel. When played with friends, it becomes exponentially better. For a social deduction game, you seriously need the social aspect to be present. On your own, it's a very isolating and frankly easy grind of the same thing, but with others actively talking and trying to deceive each other, the whole dynamic changes. I'm not really sure how or what they could do to spice Shadows up, but it desperately needs to change the way it approaches its content. Outside of the game itself, I found the character designs to be really appealing. We've got a Jagan, Cain, Abel, Navarre, Sita, all the makings of classic Fire Emblem archetypes put into unique Laguz-esque designs. If this was a mainline game utilizing these characters, I would be all for it. The story is... Honestly, I didn't read the story. This game would be a 10 if they add Camilla as a cow. Pokemon Legends EA, the long-awaited follow-up to the critically acclaimed Pokemon Legends Arceus. I liked it, surprisingly. I don't really hate modern Pokemon as much as the entire world seems to. I just don't really expect much or frankly care about it, compared to the DS era. So I had no intention to try this game, but after seeing some clips online and hearing buzz about it from friends, I said fuck it. Even on the Switch 1, I didn't find the performance egregious, which was a relief. Limio City was pretty fun to explore, and despite it only taking place in the city, I never felt like I ran out of things to do or see. At first. New megas are sick, new characters are awesome. Pokemon might fumble with their creature designs, but I feel like they get better at designing human characters with every game. The story was, it's Pokemon, it's fine for what it is. It was just overall solid. I don't really see any major issues with this one, not to mention the new real-time combat they're incorporating. I really thought it was a breath of fresh air for the mainline games. Not only are unconventional Pokemon more viable with this system, but which moves are better entirely have changed. You have to take into account cooldown times, the range of the attack, the distance between you and the enemy. It feels like you're battling in the anime or something. It's sick. The biggest problem I had was with the DLC, but that's a whole other issue. If you stick to the main content of ZA, I think this is a great pickup for new and old fans alike. Dispatch. I've never played a Telltale game. The only exposure I had to games like this were from YouTube channels like Berleezy, but when I saw Mr. Critical himself as a bad, I had to try it. Also, the premise seemed overdone, but ripe for potential. A superhero workplace sitcom where you try to reform a group of supervillains. Sounds fun. The result was, it was about as fun as it sounded. At first, I thought I'd be too cringed out over the many forced jokes and quirky banter. But it became less of an issue to me after the first 2 episodes. Where this game shines is with the way it handles its cast, both in gameplay and in cutscenes. You, Robert Robinson, yes, that's his name, have to eke your way into respect from these frankly unsalvageable assholes by being persistent and committed to the cause. It reflected how I, the player, had to sit through Invisigal's terrible one-liners. By the end, I really grew to like these characters, and I can't wait to see what they do with them if there's ever a season 2. While I don't want to spoil too much of the story, I do want to give attention to the dispatch sections, the gameplay. This was way more fun than it had any right to be, and they needed to make it a separate mode or something. So it's a bit hard to compare it, as I don't really know any games quite like this, but you essentially take calls over the course of a shift and match your hero to hopefully suit the job's needs. With every success, your character gains experience, and once they level up, you can allocate a point to any stat. Seems simple at first, right? Wrong! You won't be getting these calls one at a time. Sometimes 2, or 3, or more can pop up, and you have to decide on the spot which ones to prioritize. Sometimes your hero can fail because there's an RNG aspect. If you don't reach the required stats, then you get injured and have all your stats decreased by 1. Then of course you've got people that have to spend time resting. So if you deploy too many people at once, you won't have anyone on call to handle any surprise missions. With different skill branches you can take each hero in, there's a bit of depth and decision making that lends itself to repeat playthroughs easily. Seriously, if anyone knows of any games even remotely similar to this kind of gameplay, tell me. It's super fun. In terms of who I chose in the story, Blonde Blazer or Invisigal, I raise you 1 coupe. Valkyria Chronicles. Now this is a game I was half close to making a video for. This is a top contender for one of my favorite games this year. Being in the mood for yet another tactics game, as I usually am every couple of months or so, Valkyria Chronicles ended up being the pick this time. I remember seeing this game years ago, back in the olden days of the PS3, and it always looked interesting, but I always ended up passing on it for one reason or another. This time, since I was able to nab it on sale, I had every reason to finally give Anime World War II a try, and it was utterly fantastic. First, I've got to say, it has definitely aged well with its unique presentation. Everything is told in the lens of a writer looking back over the history of Squad 7 and their participation in the Second European War. So we've got this great tactile feel of hand-drawn characters and watercolor backgrounds. This game utilizes something called the Canvas engine, and it's apparent to see why they named it that. Even in the middle of battle, enemies and cover are still easy to discern. The art style isn't just a novelty that might impede gameplay, it all works together beautifully. That was the first sign I'd love this game. The second was the story. Valkyria Chronicles takes place on the fictional and totally not inspired continent of Europa. There's a big war breaking out between 2 major superpowers over a resource called Ragnite, and our small neutral country of Gallia is smack dab in the middle of it. with the Empire forcibly making its way to not only pilfer Gallia's surplus of Ragnite resources, but also use it as a foothold in their war, the small militia of Squad 7 begins to fight back. Simple in its setup, the story of Valkyria Chronicles is great at keeping a balance of showing the disasters of war and the small interpersonal moments of the people fighting within it. It's extremely mature in the way it presents itself, mostly, and I found myself involved throughout the entire conflict. Now it is anime in nature, and so there are some quote-unquote anime moments, like where we adopt this weird-ass pig they clearly wanted to make a mascot. Go back to the 7 deadly sins, bro. But more often than not, I could believe in the severity of each battle and the soldiers who took part in it. In terms of characters, they aren't the most deep or introspective people you'll ever see, but they all feel real all the same. We've got a guy with autism, a baker, a veteran soldier, a racist. It's a varied group of individuals with their own reasons to fight. I found them entertaining enough to move the plot along. Gameplay wise, Valkyria is an interesting beast to tackle. It's turn-based, but once you select a character, it becomes a real-time strategy game where you maneuver and aim your sights to take out targets. Everyone comes in a different class with their own strengths, with scouts being broken as hell. Just use scouts seriously. They have the highest movement stat, allowing them to clear maps in just a few turns if you know what you're doing. Lancers have lower movement but high anti-tank power. Shock troopers have average movement but are best at taking out other infantry. Engineers have good movement and act as support by resupplying ammo, disabling mines, and restoring health to tanks. And then snipers, who are hilariously terrible in the early game, super low movement but the longest range and ability to take out targets in one shot, if they hit. Then of course there are the tanks, which steamroll anything, utilizing sandbags and cover to mitigate return fire or set up defensive formations, taking the high ground with scouts or snipers to see what's ahead or take out moving enemies on their turn. There are a lot of fun strategies you can employ with this battle system. Getting good ranks only requires low turn counts, so it can feel a bit restrictive if you're trying to hit the highest rank on every map, but I still found it fun to puzzle out the best approach. And the maps, every single one of them was memorable and unique in their setup. Fire Emblem, take notes. In this game alone, we've got route maps, defeat boss maps, escape maps, defend maps. There's variety everywhere. And depending on how you like to play, there are just as many ways to tackle them. Valkyria Chronicles is something wholly unique, a real diamond in the rough I wish I gave a chance to earlier. I know there are a few more in this series I'm gonna have to visit over time, but I am aware that the latest game came out in 2018? So yeah, hoping it won't end with that one. Give Valkyria Chronicles a try. Please. Lost Dimension. A last minute entry to the 2025 running, this game came out of nowhere and sucked me in like a whirlpool. Another tactics game with a strange twist. Some of our allies are actually traitors in disguise, and we have to sleuth out who they are as we climb the pillar. We've got this guy cleverly named The End, who was threatening to bomb the entire world unless someone can defeat him in combat. And wouldn't you know it, our group of super secret government agent psychics called Sealed are up for the job. Except when we enter the pillar, we get amnesia.
That's supposed to be a joke?
Lost Dimension features turn-based combat where we can control up to 8 characters to win map objectives, usually consisting of either killing everything or killing the boss. Each character has a unique set of skills based on their psychic ability, with your typical healing, melee, support, and ranged attacks. What's really cool is I found out after the fact that some of the developers of the Etrian Odyssey series were behind this game. Hell, this game was published by Atlas too. Now, Etrian Odyssey didn't invent the skill tree or anything, but I did have the lingering thought of, this feels familiar when I was playing it. Another feature of combat are the assist attacks. If a teammate is within attack range of the same enemy you're targeting, they'll follow up. At first, this is a bit hard to utilize since your damage won't be too impressive, but once you start to understand the game more, the whole thing snowballs out of control. If set up correctly, basically the entire team can wail on one guy with the ability to crit and everything. Every map turns into this assist attack ball of death, and most enemies won't stand a chance. It's surprisingly fun, and I had a blast with the combat. At first, it was a bit tough to wrap my head around the best way to approach it, but it becomes way easier over time. You get absolutely broken abilities, like, for example, skipping the enemy's turn completely. Unfortunately, that's really all the depth it has for its battle system. It's very straightforward with little changing save for the new skills you require. Even the final boss can be trivialized, which is a bit disappointing. The really interesting part lies in the deduction aspect. Like I said before, some of the members of Sealed are actually double agents in disguise. Every floor you scale, a vote is held to eliminate a member of the team. These decisions are a bit ambiguous until the end, where your choices will shape the ending you get. The way we go about deciding as the player is through the voices our protagonist hears. After each and every battle, you may or may not hear some traitorous lines mixed in with the rest. The goal is to cross-reference who you brought to each battle and pinpoint the most likely traitors. Afterwards, once you feel like you have a likely suspect, you use something called deep vision to either confirm or deny their allegiance. So now you may be thinking, well, doesn't that just solve all your problems if you know who the traitor is? No, because it's a group vote and everyone will need to choose unanimously. So you also need to convince everyone else to vote for who you want. It's a nice layer of complexity atop the simple combat that also forces you to switch up your team compositions. Frankly, it's awesome. And as far as I know, every single run barring the first traitor has completely random traitors for each floor. No two runs will be alike. A super unique and novel concept for a tactics game. I would love to see this tackled in either a sequel or spiritual successor. Oh, the story and characters? Yeah, they're fine, I guess. The only thing that matters is George Jackman. Holy shit, I'm wondering how long this video became. I'm banking on 10 minutes, totally. Well, this will definitely be coming out later than what I initially wanted. I can't believe it's February already. Thanks for watching if you made it to the end. I think I'm going to make these a yearly tradition at this point. But maybe limit the games I play because I really didn't think talking about 25 games would take this long. Of course, I want to know what you played this year, or I should say last year. Any hidden gems, or was Expedition 33 really the best game ever made? I read every comment, so if I can find a great recommendation from you, you'll get the coveted Deep Freeze seal of approval. Got a few other things lined up pretty soon, and you know I'll be all over Fortune's Weave when it drops this year. But until then, I must say, peace out.
Congrats. You win, fair and square.